Welcome to my channel. Please like, subscribe, and share this video to your friend and family. The night was eerily quiet as I made my way through the thick pine forest, my breath visible in the freezing air. I'd been a search and rescue volunteer for years, used to dealing with tough conditions in our remote national park. Most of the time, missions ended well with people safe and sound, but tonight felt different. It felt wrong. Just after sunset, we got a call about a hiker named Emily who had disappeared near the Whispering Pines. Locals rarely went there after dark because of the strange stories about voices carried by the wind. My partner Jake and I didn't hesitate. We grabbed our gear and headed out, our headlights cutting through the heavy snow that was starting to fall. As we went deeper into the forest, it felt like the trees were closing in on us. They stood tall and silent, their branches weighed down with snow, making long, spooky shadows in our flashlight beams. The temperature kept dropping, and the wind was so loud, it felt like it was trying to tell us something. Every step we took on the snow-covered ground seemed louder, making me more nervous. We reached Emily's last known spot, marked by a small, empty campsite. Her backpack was left behind, with things scattered everywhere by the strong wind. I got a shiver, not just from the cold, but from the feeling that someone was watching us. Jake noticed I was uneasy and put a hand on my shoulder, but his eyes showed he was scared too. "Let's split up," Jake whispered over the storm. "We might find her faster." I didn't want to, but I agreed. We decided to stay close enough to hear each other, knowing how dangerous Whispering Pines could be. I grabbed my flashlight and started searching, the beam cutting through the blinding snow. The wind got louder, and I thought I could hear faint whispers just out of reach. I tried to ignore it and focus on finding Emily. Hours went by with no sign of her. The forest felt endless, every tree looking the same, like a never-ending maze of white. I was getting tired, and my hope was fading. Just when I was about to give up, I heard a soft, melodic humming. It was beautiful, but sad, sending chills down my spine. Following the sound, I found a small clearing lit by the pale moonlight. There was Emily, standing in the snow, but something was terribly wrong. She looked completely still, her eyes empty and her clothes torn. The humming stopped suddenly, replaced by a heavy silence that felt like it was pressing down on me. "Emily?" I called out, my voice shaking. She didn't answer. Instead, her head slowly lifted and her mouth started to move without making a sound. The whispers grew louder, swirling around me like ghostly voices. Panic took over as I realized she wasn't alone. Shadows began to form from the darkness, taking on strange, twisted shapes that danced around us. The cold got even worse, making my breath turn to ice. I tried to back away, but the snow felt like it was pulling me in. I desperately called out to Jake, but my voice got lost in the storm. The whispers turned into clear words that echoed my deepest fears. "Leave, leave," they urged. I turned to run, but the forest had changed. It was like a nightmare maze of snowdrifts and twisted trees. Every direction I went seemed to lead me deeper into the chaos. The shadows closed in, their presence making it hard to breathe, and the whispers turned into loud, painful screams. In a last-ditch effort, I reached out to Emily, trying to break whatever spell held her. My fingers touched her frozen body, and a sharp pain shot through me. I saw visions of the forest's dark past, lost souls, restless spirits, trapped in the Whispering Pines, forever caught in the blizzard's grip. Summoning all my strength, I broke free from the trance and ran through the storm, the voices fading as I got closer to the forest's edge. Jake was waiting for me, looking pale but alive. We didn't say anything, just collapsed beside the trailhead as the storm finally started to calm. Emily was never found, and the search was called off the next morning, but that night stayed with me. Sometimes, when the wind blows just right, I hear the whispers of the Whispering Pines, calling out to anyone who dares to enter. On the coldest nights, I swear I see Emily's empty eyes watching from the shadows, reminding me of the forest's dark secrets. To understand what happened that night, you need to know a bit about Whispering Pines. I tried to tell myself it was over, that Emily was gone, that whatever had happened in that cursed forest was beyond my understanding. But the memories wouldn't let go. The whispers clung to me, even in the safety of my own home. Sometimes in the dead of night, I swore I could hear that same sad, melodic humming just beyond my window, carried by a wind that shouldn't have been there. Jake and I never spoke about it, not really. He stayed on with search and rescue, but something changed in him after that night. He kept his distance, and I didn't blame him. We both knew we had seen something that no training, no rational explanation could ever account for. I left the team a few months later. I told people it was burnout. That was easier than the truth. But Whispering Pines wasn't done with me. 1 year later, to the day, I got a call. It was just past midnight, the same bitter cold of winter pressing against my window panes when my phone buzzed. My heart jumped into my throat when I saw the name. Jake. We hadn't spoken in months. My hands were ice cold as I picked up. At first, there was nothing but static. Then his voice, weak and distant, came through. "I'm back here," he said. I didn't mean to, but I heard her. I sat up straight, my pulse pounding in my ears. "Jake, where are you?" The line crackled, and then something else came through, soft, almost lost in the interference. A hum, that same eerie, sorrowful melody. My stomach dropped. "Jake, listen to me. You need to leave, right now." "I tried," he whispered. His voice barely sounded like his own. "But I think she brought me back." The call cut out. I was already throwing on my jacket, my boots, grabbing my flashlight. My body moved on instinct, despite every cell in my brain screaming at me not to go. But Jake was out there, and if there was even the smallest chance of bringing him back, I had to try. The drive to Whispering Pines was a blur. The roads were empty. The night stretched endless and black before me. When I reached the trailhead, the snow was falling just like that night a year ago. Heavy, suffocating. The world felt muted, swallowed by the storm. Jake's truck was there, engine running, lights on, but he wasn't inside. I swallowed the lump in my throat and stepped into the woods. The cold wrapped around me instantly, seeping into my bones. My flashlight cut weakly through the swirling snow, but it didn't help. The deeper I went, the more I realized the forest was wrong. The trees weren't where they should be. The path twisted in ways it never had before, and the deeper I walked, the more the snow seemed to swallow all sound, until there was nothing but my own breath and the crunch of my boots. Then the humming started, soft at first, just a whisper of sound between the trees, then louder, the same melody, Emily. I followed it because I had no other choice. I didn't know what I was doing, only that I had to find Jake, had to get him out. But as I moved deeper, I realized something was different this time. The shadows, they weren't just in my mind, they were moving. A figure emerged through the snow. At first, I thought it was Emily. The same vacant eyes, the same pale, frozen skin. But then I saw the face. Jake. His lips parted as if trying to form words, but nothing came out. His eyes locked onto mine, wide with something beyond fear. And then he lifted a hand, not toward me, behind me. A breath of ice curled against my neck. I turned. Emily stood there, closer than I had ever seen her before. Her skin was cracked with frost, her lips blue, her hair tangled with ice. But it was her eyes that paralyzed me, empty, hungry. She reached out a frozen hand. I stumbled back. My body screamed to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The shadows around us swirled, taking form, others. More figures, half seen in the snowstorm, their shapes flickering in and out of sight. The lost ones, the ones who had never been found. Jake's voice, hoarse and broken, forced its way out. "Go!" I shook my head. "Not without you. She won't let me." The humming grew louder, pressing against my skull. Emily's head tilted, as if she were listening to something only she could hear. The moment stretched thin, fragile, like ice over a deep black lake. Then she smiled. It was wrong. It was wrong. And the wind roared. I don't remember how I got out. I don't remember running. All I know is that I woke up in my car, hands frozen around the steering wheel, the sun breaking over the horizon. Jake was gone. I told the Rangers. They searched. They never found him. They never will. And now, when the wind howls at night, I don't just hear the humming. I hear Jake's voice whispering my name.